Hey winners, it's Kevin Ward here with YesMasters Real Estate Success Training, helping you get more yeses and more successes in your business and in your life. And today's video is a little different than just a normal training video, because what today's video is actually a Q&A session in answer to a lot of the questions that were asked on the webcast, on the Revolution 2015 business planning webcast that I did earlier this week. And I had a ton of questions that were chatted in throughout the event that I just didn't have time to get to. And when I was trying to go through them, there were so many other just little comments and stuff and thank yous and stuff like that that I wasn't able to get through all the questions. So this video is I'm just going to bullet down the questions that were asked. There's a couple of questions here that I'm going to do a separate video on. I'll let you know the question, and I'll also let you know to be watching for that other video. And I'll let you know the first part of this video is going to cover questions about the content, questions about the training that I talked about planning your business and really revolutionizing your business in 2015, starting right now. And then the second part of this video is going to be questions specifically about the programs that I offered on there, both the Double Your Listing Power online training program that I offered for $297, which will go up to $497 once the cart closes in the next few days. So just so you know, that is a one-time only holiday special, just because I'm in the Christmas mood. And I've never offered anything like that at this price, at a price that low, $297. So at the end of this, I'm going to be answering questions specifically about that, and then questions about the 100-day List Master Challenge. So if those are programs that you're interested in, if you've watched the video webcast where I cover those in detail, these were questions that were asked in addition to what I discussed on the webcast. So if you haven't seen it on the webcast, my recommendation is go watch the webcast, get the links there to get all the full details about the Double Your Listing Power training program and the 100-day List Master Challenge, if those are things that you are interested in investing in to help you build your business in 2015. But first, I want to just answer some questions here, some great questions that came in from you guys, and I'm going to try to do quick, brief answers here, and then we'll expand on them as necessary. The first question and these are in no particular order, and I copied these off and tried to get rid of all the duplicates. So the first question is about the conversation I had with Darren Hardy with Success Magazine and his experience as a real estate agent and what he did that really helped him to become a top producer as a real estate agent. I'm going to save that for a second video, just because that in itself is a whole training and a whole conversation. So be watching for that, about what I learned from my interview with Darren Hardy of Success Magazine. So that's a video that I'll be putting out here within the next week. Second question. This is from Ajaz in Toronto, Canada. Do you recommend, this is a question about the programs. Do you recommend the Double Your Listing? I'm going to come back to that one. Okay, Kevin, here was about 7 or 8 of you asked this question. What are a couple of CRMs you would recommend? Now, CRM is a customer relationship management software. So like Top Producer, Realty Juggler, AgentWise, Market Leader, eEdge. These are programs that help you manage your database, help you manage all your personal circle, for your emails, for your leads, and all of that. So what do I recommend? Well, one, I don't recommend any of them. I don't not recommend them. I just have not really found one that was the end-all be-all of CRMs for real estate agents. Here's what I'm going to recommend. If you are using something that's working for you, use it. If you are not, start with something like Gmail. It's real simple, but the cool thing is Gmail, you can categorize your contacts into an A team, B team, and a C team. So as you talk about putting together your personal circle, you can categorize them. You can even break them into smaller categories than that. So you may have A team that's also a future lead, an A team that's also a vendor, an A team that's also your mortgage lender. You can have multiple tags on them, and that way you can pull them up by list and you can prospect through them that way. You can also send out emails that way, whether you're going to put out to A team, B team, C team, or all of them. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of versatility, and also as you go through them and call them, you can also make notes in Gmail. Really simple. It's not the most powerful, but it's free, and it's a great place to start because it will integrate directly with your smartphone, where you have a ton of contacts and so forth. So that's the short answer to that question. And on the chat, as you were watching the webinar, a lot of different agents were recommending different CRMs that they were using and are having good success with. So check them all out. And they all have strengths and they all have weaknesses. Terry, that's another question about the program. Okay, next page. Yeah, next page. Oh, just a thought, why doesn't YesMasters have a CRM? Why don't I have a CRM? He said, I'm tired of paying another coach for their CRM. Well, here's the reason I don't. I don't specialize in technology. I specialize in teaching real estate agents success. And so I just have not chosen, and probably never will, maybe we'll see, but I've not chosen to spend time working on a technology when there's so many great technologies out there. And I'm going to stay with my strength, which is teaching you the skills, strategies, systems, and mindset to achieve at a high level in real estate. So I'll stay with my strength, and I'll let those guys that are into technology and CRMs and database management, I'll let them, we'll just tag on to or latch on to their expertise for that. Then Michael asked this question, what do you mean by no personal relationship, like random addresses found online? And I'm not sure the context of this question. What do you mean by no personal relationship? Okay, here's what I mean by no personal relationship. If I saw you on the street, I wouldn't remember you. Or I might go like, I think I met you once, but we're not friends. So somebody that, for example, walked into an open house and you greeted them and they said, hey, they left their name and email and maybe their phone number, and then they left and you never really talked to them anymore. Even if you did talk to them, once they leave, it's not like you're going to call them up and say, hey, let's go have lunch. Now you could, but I'm just saying you haven't established a personal relationship. They're just an acquaintance. Okay, now an acquaintance is somebody that if you have their phone number, you can put them in your B team. If you don't have a phone number for them, you just have an email, you can put them on a C team if they've given it to you in a conversation. Now the question is what if I just get a bunch of emails and put them in my list of people I've never met and I got them online or whatever, and then you start sending out those are spam. If you just grab a bunch of emails, from a directory or a list or whatever, that can be considered spam. Now, it's kind of like if you own a home and you live in a homeowners association, there's a homeowners association in that neighborhood and they have a directory of all the homeowners in the area, you got their email and so forth. Is it appropriate to send an email to all of them? Well, probably, because you're a fellow homeowner. Just be cool, just be smart, just be respectful. And if you're respectful, people will be respectful to you, and give them a way out. Make sure it's easy for them to opt out if they want to. And when they opt out, don't take it personal. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll never use you or that they don't like you. It just means they're not interested in getting your emails right now, which is totally cool. I had to get over that as real estate agents were subscribing to my videos. And then when I have agents that opt out, at first I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It's just what you're sending them is not something that is meeting a need for them right now, and maybe they're trying to clear the clutter in their email inbox. So don't take that personal. But as you do that, your personal relationship is going to be people typically with a real personal relationship will typically be in your A team unless they just don't want to really help you that much, and then they'll probably be in your B team. So there'll be past clients, there'll be family members that may go in your C team. And in a minute, we'll talk, another question is, how do you decide which is which? And we'll talk about that in a second. Would you add Gmail contacts that you don't have a personal relationship to your C team email campaign? And yes, if you have them in your Gmail, you got them there somehow. You got them there for a reason. So there was some interaction at some point that caused them to become one of your contacts. It would be my guess, unless you're buying emails from somewhere, which I kind of doubt you're doing that. And yes, that would be appropriate to put them in your C team. And here's a great way. So I'm going to give you a little bonus tip here. How do you get phone numbers from people that you only have emails for? Because even some people are friends. So here's what you can do. It can be a real simple email, and that says, hey, I was just updating my address book, and my personal address book, and I noticed I don't even have your phone number. What is the best phone number for you? And then just send that email out. And what will happen is about 10% of them will actually, or maybe more, will give you a phone number. And most of them won't, but some of them will, because you asked. And it's the Aladdin's lamp principle that Jack Canfield taught about when he said, basically, if you want something, ask for it. That's the best way to get it. And it doesn't mean they're going to give it, but you're never going to know if you don't ask. So just ask for it and just say, hey, I was just updating my address book and I noticed I don't even have your phone number. What would be the best way for me to reach you? And if you have somebody's phone number and don't have their email, the same conversation. You're calling them and just say, hey, just want to touch base with you and da-da-da-da. I'd have your conversation with them. And then just say, hey, and I was noticing, I was going through my address book. I noticed I don't even have an email for you. What is the best email, your best email? And they'll give you, and in that case, 60, 70, 80% of them will easily, without any resistance at all, will just give you their email. So let's see. Dustin Peterson said, I'm looking for the database, which is a CRM, to help me organize as I have 2,500 names and 300 past clients. Whoa, which is awesome, Dustin. Congratulations on a great business. I'm feeling overwhelmed managing, so I find I don't do it at all. So watch this. He's got a personal circle of about 2,500 people, and I'm assuming included in that is 300 people that are past clients. And he's going like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. That's so many people. So I just end up don't do anything with them at all. Well, welcome to the average real estate agent's world. The average real estate agent, whether you have 25 people or 2,500 people, the average real estate agent just doesn't have a system, and they're like, well, I'm just not going to call them at all. And they don't plan to not call them. They just by default don't call them, don't email them, don't ever send them letters, cards, invite them to a party, don't ever have any connection with them at all. So again, in a second, I'm going to get in, as I get to one of the other questions, where I'm going to lay out how do you put them in a system, how do you choose which category they go into, A team, B team, or C team, and then I added them. I'll tell you about the D list down here. I'll explain in a second. And then how do you communicate with them? So I'm going to show you that in just how do you create the system so that you do that. Next question from Allison. How do we do this if we are in a new area? My family already has a very close family member as a longtime realtor out here. Okay, so it sounds like Allison just moved to a new area, and which is how I started real estate. Okay, so I started real estate. I moved from a town of 12,000 people in North Texas to Dallas-Fort Worth, which was 5 million people at the time and much larger now. And I didn't really know anybody, but I did have 6 people on my list when we went to our first week of real estate training in the company I joined. They had us write down our database, our past client sphere of influence, because you didn't have any past clients. And I came up with 6. Well, one of them was Uncle Foy and Aunt Martha. And Uncle Foy had been a broker in Dallas-Fort Worth for over 20 years, a real estate broker. So it's very unlikely that I'm going to get any business from him, right? And then 2 of the other people in my personal circle were my cousins, Sherry and Debbie, and their families. Well, Sherry and Debbie had a broker who happened to be their dad, who happened to be Uncle Foy. So half of my database already is a realtor or has a realtor. So I'm like, okay, I'm out of luck. What am I going to do? Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to operate outside the vortex, and I'm going to go after the turbo leads. So if you're in a new area and you want to establish your business and build it, and you don't have a personal circle, what do? You go outside the personal circle because it doesn't exist. And then as you prospect turbo leads, especially because they're fast, that'll turbocharge your business. It's fast money. When you're talking to for sale by owners and expireds, don't just have the goal of getting appointments and listings. Have that goal first. But if they're not a listing or an appointment right now, bring them into your personal circle. Get their contact information and say, hey, great, no problem. Let's stay in touch. If I can help with anything, let me know. Don't ask for permission. Just say, great, well, I'll tell you what, if anything happens or if I can help with anything, let me know, and we'll just talk soon. And it's pretty simple, and then you just start following up with them, talking to them. Because they're a future lead as a let's say a former expired listing or a for sale by owner, and really a for sale by owner who's still in the market, even if they're not planning to list, they're always a lead. Now, an expired who's over a month or 2 or 3 or 4 months out or a year out, they really don't belong in your lead system. They belong in your A team, and you're going to be talking to them every month, and now you're just building that relationship. So if you remember when we talked about the Vortex, we talked about the 5 steps in that process, and you remember on the side of the Vortex over here, we talked about that you connect, position, inspire the hire, deliver results, and leverage your success. Well, connecting is that first conversation. Positioning is how you incubate and build that relationship by talking to them and communicating with them after that conversation. Okay, so how do you do it if you're in a new area? You just start those conversations, and then once you make a contact, if you're out knocking random doors and you meet somebody and they're friendly, say, great, well, I'll tell you what, I have an e-newsletter that I send out every month to my peeps that gives them an update of what's happening in the real estate market in the area and how it affects the value of your home. Is that something that would be of value to you? Well, absolutely, great. What is your best email? And I'll put you on my list, and I'll make sure you get that every month. And over 50% of them will give it to you. It's crazy. It's awesome. Just do it and just say, great, what's your best email, so I can put you on the list and make sure you get that newsletter every month. Okay, and then they give you their email. Oh, yeah, perfect. And so what's your best phone number, just in case? And again, if you do it right, up to 50% will give you a phone number without ever questioning what just in case means. Just say, don't say, can I get a phone number? Wrong question, because that's a yes or no question. What is your best phone number, just in case? And most of the time, they'll actually give it to you. It's awesome. It's so cool. So how do you get it? Just because you ask. So take people you don't know, and if your Vortex isn't big enough, build it. Whether it's starting out, like mine started out with 6, and half of those were probably useless in terms of getting future business. Or if you have a database who was it that had that Dustin Peterson, that you got 2,500 in there. Whoa. Either way, the key is to put them into a system and then execute and implement the system, which I'll go into more detail in just a second. So how do we do this in a new area? All right, here's a great question from Kimberly. If we're prospecting 3 hours a day, then when are we only calling the A and B team? Well, here's the cool thing. That is prospecting. What is prospecting? Prospecting is talking to people with the intent of getting business, asking for business. So when I'm speaking to people, whether they're my A team or B team, unless I'm following up on a previous conversation, which is called lead follow-up, unless I'm following up on a previous conversation, every time I have a conversation with them, I'm prospecting for business. And that's the intention behind the conversation. So this is a part of the 3 hours of prospecting. So remember, in the webcast, I talked about if your A team ever got to be 200 people, and you're talking to those 200 people one time a month. Because remember, I said 12 times a year, your A teamers, you want to touch base with them every month. And it's just a simple conversation that I would just call you up and say, let's see, who asked the question? Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly, it's Kevin Ward. How are things going? Great. Hey, just wanted to touch base with you, see who you know this month that I can help. And after you get this conversation going, they know exactly why you're calling. Great. Well, I'll tell you what, is there anything I can do to help your business right now? Anything I can do for you? And now you're adding value, and you're asking for value, and you're adding value. So it becomes a reciprocal relationship. Now, if you have 200 people, remember I told you that 200 people in your A team literally will be worth a deal per person on average. That's 200 deals at $5,000 commission. That's that $1 million income, remember? Well, how do I talk to 200 people a month? Well, here's how you do it. You divide it by, and you can divide it by 20 days. If you're prospecting 5 days a week for 4 weeks of the month, that's 20 days. So you divide 200 by 20, divided by 20 days, and that's 10 people per day. I got to talk to 10 people a day that are A teamers in a list of 200 to do 200 deals a year. How long does it take to have those 10 conversations a day? 60 to 90 minutes. If you're having the right kind of conversation. Some will be 4 or 5 minutes long. Some will be 60 seconds long. You'll have conversations where you call somebody up and you say, hey, Kimberly, it's Kevin Ward. How are things going? And Kimberly would say, hey, Kevin, thanks for calling. I don't have anybody for you this month either, but if I do, you're at the top of my list. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure I'm on your radar. Have an awesome day. We'll talk soon. And it just becomes a fun little conversation. And if they get tired of you calling, they'll tell you, look, I want to help you. Anytime I have somebody, I'll let you know, but you don't need to call me every month. Okay, got it. And I certainly don't want to bug you. So I'll not call you as much. And don't say I'm going to move you out of my A team. Just say, no problem. I won't I'll stop calling you quite so much. And I know you'll let me know anytime there's somebody out there that I can help. Awesome. You hang up with them and you real simply switch them from your A team to your B team, because your B team you're going to only talk to 4 times a year, every 3 months, which is way, way less. And so when you talk to them every quarter, 4 times a year, nobody's going to get annoyed with that unless they just don't like you. Okay, and if they don't like you, they'll tell you that. And they'll either say, never call me again, Or they'll say, don't ever talk to me again, don't ever contact me, take my name off your list and all that kind of stuff. If you need to take their name off your list, that's when they go to the D list right here. And the D list is that this is the group that you delete. That's what you do with your D list. You delete them, you get them out of your database, because if you leave them in there, when you run onto one of those persons, you come to their name, it freaks you out. And so all of a sudden, you don't want to call anybody because you like hit that name and you're going like, oh, it's Dan. I don't want to talk to Dan. Oh, Dan ruined my life. Oh, he's mad at me. I'm mad at him, whatever it is. And then you stop mentally and emotionally. It just kind of takes you out of the game. So get them out of your mind, get them out of your personal circle, because they don't belong there. So if it's somebody they don't like you or you don't like them, just get rid of them. It may be a family member. Now, the answer may be to go reconcile that relationship, or it may be just to get rid of them. That's up to you, but the point is don't let somebody that's going to stop you from calling, don't let them stay in your list. You got to get them out of your list. So, how do you do this with prospecting? This becomes a part of your prospecting. So if you had 200 A-teamers and you're making 10 contacts a day with them, what's left over? Well, I've still got an hour and a half. If you're doing 3 hours of prospecting a day and you're talking to 7 people an hour, 10 of them takes you an hour and a half. Now the next hour and a half, I can still call expireds for sell by owners, and I can call my C team as well. Now let's play these numbers out and let's see how it works on a big scale. Let's say that you've got 2,500 people like Dustin does. You got 2,500 people. How would you do that? Well, let's say he's got 300 that are past clients. Now, a past client does not necessarily make them an A-teamer, especially if you've not maintained a relationship or a conversation with them. But let's just say that he's done a fairly good job, and either his past clients or any group of them, that of the 2,500, let's say that he has 300 in his A team, which is unbelievable, and 2,200 in his B team. Now, if that's the case, it may take him 2 or 3 years to get this 200 operating this 300 to where he's doing 300 deals a year. But here's how those numbers would work if you run this and operate this consistently according to the system that I teach in the 100-Day List Master Challenge. So just so you know, in the Real Estate Vortex Training Camp, and also in the 100-Day List Master Challenge through my mastery coaching, I teach you the entire personal circle system. Okay, now in your double your listing power, you're going to get the overview of the system. Also, if you've invested in the $297 program, you're going to get an overview of this in those videos, but not as in depth as you will get in the 100-Day List Master Challenge. So I'm just giving you a big picture here of some of the overview of it. But here's how it works. You get 300 people. Well, now I take 300 divided by 20. I've got to talk to 15 per day. I've got to talk to 15 per day there. Now this 2,200, I've got to talk to them every 3 months. Well, in a 3-month period, you're probably going to prospect about 50 days. So you take 2,200 and you divide it by 50. Okay. So I've got a calculator right here. So 2,200 divided by 50. That's not right. 2,200. Yeah, it is. 2,200 divided by 50. Is that right? Yeah, 2,200 divided by 50 is going to be 44 contacts. Well, let me just stop right here, because that would be 44 contacts a day. Well, if you were talking, that'd be 4 hours of prospecting a day if you were making 10 or 11 contacts an hour. But here's the reality. I'll bet of that 2,200, about 2,000 of them actually belong in his C team. Probably doesn't even have phone numbers for a lot of them. So what probably ends up happening is you have let's say, we'll even say 2,000 here. Let's just say there's 1,800 here. Or 1,500 here, and let's say he's got 700 here. So 700 now divided by 50. If you take 700, and this is kind of the way I meant to do this to begin with, 700 divided by 50 is 14. Okay, now watch this. 700 divided by 50 is 14 contacts per day. You've got 300 in your A team, that's 15 per day, that's 29 contacts per day. Now, if you play with the numbers that I showed you on the numbers that work in the personal circle, once you've got the entire system working, and it may take you 12 to 24 months to really get the relationships built, the positioning there, the top of mind awareness that makes that happen, but literally making 29 contacts a day with this personal circle, if Dustin put this together right, that 300 people is 300 deals. The 700 people is 70, because every 10 people are going to be 1 deal a year for you, on average, with your personal circle B team. So he's making 29 contacts per day, which is equaling for him in his A team 300 deals a year. In his B team, the 700 is 70 deals a year. That's 370 deals a year times whatever your commission check is. So just to give an idea, let's do the 5,000 deal. If 5,000 was your average commission times 370 deals, we're getting deep here. That's $1.850,000 in gross commissions in a year. Now, that's a real business. And this can be managed by basically one power agent and a team. That's what it takes to manage this. And a team of 2 or 3 agents and then support staff can literally run a business of that magnitude if it's based on relationships as opposed to being based on mass marketing or mass prospecting. I don't know anybody that's out there doing this kind of business, 370 deals a year, purely by prospecting people they don't know. They're leveraging relationships and repeat and referral business. So that's what we're talking about here. This is just your highest return on investment for repeat and referral business. This is your second highest return on investment for that. This is, the C team is pure gravy. All right, so that was deep. That was a lot of that. My problem is I have contacts, but I have a hard time grouping them. Okay, so how do I determine who goes to my A team, B team, or C team? A teamers, real simple. My A teamers are people that love me. So just put a heart by it. They're always looking for business for you. Okay, they're looking for, they're like, I don't know anybody, but man, when I know somebody, I'll call you. Or they call you every once in a while and say, hey, I've got someone. Or they're an investor. Or there's somebody who's actually themselves planning or thinking about doing something in the next 12 months or so. You just want to stay in closer contact with them. It can be also business leaders in the area that you learn how to do cross promotion with, which is something I teach at the Real Estate Vortex training camp and also in the 100-day List Master Challenge. So these are people that love you. Your B teamers are people that know you, like you, and trust you, but they're really not aggressively looking for business for you. They're not really, sometimes you don't answer the phone, they're not always responsive to you, and so forth. But you have their phone number and you can talk to them 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. That's your B team. And there for here's the way those numbers work. For every 10 of them, they'll give you 1 deal a year. Well, that means the average person will only give you 1 deal every 10 years. So it's kind of like, wow, that's not that much. No, it's not that much at all. The key is most agents don't stay in touch with them and don't stay positioned as their go-to agent and don't maintain that top of mind awareness. See, these people all know people who move every year because the average person knows 200 people. If the average person moves once every 10 years, that means they know 20 people this year that are going to move. How many of those 20 would you like to be the agent for? Well, it depends on how well you position yourself on their radar. Because even though they know you, like you, and trust you, they don't think about you because you're not on their radar unless you keep yourself on their radar. So you literally have to train your word-of-mouth marketing team and your B team to think about you when they hear a real estate conversation. And when you do that, it becomes exceptionally powerful. And by the way, just a little as an aside, the mindset part of this, you have to get over the idea that by calling them or staying in touch with them that you're begging them or bugging them. I hear that a lot as agents go like, well, I don't want them to think I'm desperate, like I'm begging for business. No, this is what you do. You're a professional. You add value. You serve people who need to buy or sell a house. It's your job. And you do it awesomely. So what should you do? Bring awesomeness to their relationship so they can add value to people they know so they don't get stuck with a bad realtor. And you're not bugging them because people that like you like to help you. That's the way it works. All right. Let's see. Is this seminar being taped to give to other associates? And the answer is real simple. Yes. Until it shuts down in the next few days, you can just take the email that gave you this link for this video and the replay and simply forward the email to them. And then when they open it up, they'll have to put in their name and email to get access to the webinar, to the webcast. But once they do that, then they can get access to the replay. So that's real simple. And feel free, if this helped you and you feel like it'll help other people, feel free to share it with anybody you want to. Terry Burek, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I hope this works. So Terry, congratulations. After you drink the Kool-Aid, now you got to take action on it. Okay, that's the real key. I got my. This is from Yvonne Riddell. A question. I just got my license in October. I'm not comfortable yet with cold calls. Well, join the club. Any good scripts? The agency I'm with did not do any training, any scripts out there that are good. And the answer is absolutely. They're awesome scripts. It's called the Book of Yes. And when you invest in the Double Your Listing Power training program for $297, you're going to get all of my scripts in the book of Yes, and also additionally the 10 hottest objection handlers. Plus there are other scripts that you'll learn along the way, but those are the core scripts for all of your conversations in real estate, both for buyers and sellers, that will, for objection handling and everything, that will allow you to crush it in your business. And getting comfortable with cold calling, I would never be comfortable with cold calling. Why? Because it sounds so cold. So don't do cold calling, do warm calling. Again, that's a different conversation, but a lot of it's just a mindset. And the more conversations you do where you connect with people and build a relationship, the more time you spend talking to people who know you, like you, and trust you, the less time you have to spend outside the vortex, outside of where you have influence, talking to people that aren't interested in talking to you. I'm not saying you shouldn't, because they're always going to be great business, but I'm just saying the more you have, the more you build your vortex, the more powerful that becomes, the more influence you create with those people, then the easier those conversations become. But practice doing it right, doing it over and over. Action will always conquer the fear. So I hope that helps. Let's see, Claudia, someone needs to talk about the best CRM, best listing presentations, and best overall systems to put in place. Okay, so let's talk about this. So the best CRM, already mentioned that. If you don't have one right now, Gmail, simple. The best listing presentations, Double Your Listing Power training program has the best listing presentation ever created. And when you go through that entire program, and one of the things I do in the program is actually lay out for you the entire listing presentation. I go through it word for word, word by word, and explain to you why you say that, how you say it, and why it matters, why it's powerful. We talk about the seller, the psychology of the seller. We talk about the power of words, the energy that words have, using the right words and not using the wrong words. I'll talk more about that in a second when I talk about the Double Your Listing Power training program. And then the best overall systems to put in place. Again, in the Double Your Listing Power program, we go through about 5 of the core systems that you need to implement. In the 100-Day List Master Challenge, we talk about all 10 or 11 systems that you need to implement in your business that will allow you not only to achieve your goals and create a huge business, but will also allow you to create financial freedom in the next 7 to 10 years, so that the day comes where you're making so much money with passive income that you're not even having to sell a house, unless you want to sell a house, which you can always continue to do. A question from Bonnie. How do you get their email addresses when they tell you they don't want to move anymore or they want to wait 6 months? I think I already just addressed that. You just ask for it. So I have an email, a market update that I send out to my peeps every month that keeps you updated on the market and so forth. Is that something that would be of value to you? And they are renovating outside of our condo here, and I did not have any idea today they're going to be running the grinder, so I hope you can hear me over that. Wendy Miller, how do you get email addresses? Yes, already answered that question as well. What is a good way to do an e-newsletter or provider? It's a little more complicated than I'm going to get into on this video, but basically you do 2 emails a month. One is a market update from your broker, from your MLS, or from a title rep or one of your vendors. You can get market statistics that you can put in an email, and you want it to be graphic. You want it to be a visual, not something that they have to read paragraphs. The second email you send out every month is my featured listings of the month for December or whatever month it is. And it's a picture with your featured listing or pictures of featured listings that hyperlink into the information on each property. And that's nothing that the recipients have to read. It's something they can see. We're in a world where people get so many emails, they don't want to read paragraphs. But pictures, just like on social media, pictures will capture people, and if they want more information on it, then they can click on it and get more details. Okay, so I tell you what I'm going to do. That's all the answer. That's the questions that came up in the webcast that I wanted to really address and answer. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop this video, and then I'm going to create a second video, because also they're making so much noise, I don't want to talk over them. I'm going to create a second video that's going to talk about the questions that we had about the Double Your Listing Power and the 100-Day List Master Challenge. Hope this has been powerful for you. It's Kevin Ward here, reminding you to embrace your life, engage opportunity, and always expect yes. We'll talk soon.